Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Heartwarming images emerge as Hamas releases all 20 surviving Israeli hostages who reunite with their families, brightening prospects for peace in Gaza. Donald Trump gets standing ovation in the Knesset. The US president hails the historic dawn of a new Middle East. Netanyahu announces Israel's highest honor for Donald Trump.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand calls on Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi. The Prime Minister says they discussed ways to strengthen cooperation in trade, technology and much more for mutual growth and prosperity. And Mongolia's Khurelsukh Ukna is on his first official visit to India as the president. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calls on the visiting president in New Delhi. All 20 living Israeli hostages were handed over to the International Committee of the Red Cross, or the ICRC, by Hamas on Monday. The news was published by Israel's public broadcaster. There were loud cheers in the hostages' square as news of the release emerged. The Foreign Ministry of Israel greeted the released hostages. Welcome home. The head of the European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, welcomed the release by Hamas, highlighting US President Donald Trump's role in this crucial milestone towards peace. Hamas earlier released the names of the 20 living hostages being freed. They have been held in Gaza since the 7th October attacks in 2023. In exchange for the hostages, Israel will release 1,966 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Israeli hostages were received by the Israeli army on Monday after they were released by Hamas under the first phase of a ceasefire agreement with Israel, which was set to release hundreds of Palestinians from its jails in exchange. The freed hostages finally reunited with their families. US President Donald Trump was given a standing ovation by Israeli MPs as he entered the parliament Knesset on Monday. Trump traveled to Israel to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and address its parliament as Hamas handed over all 20 surviving hostages to Israel. Speaking before the parliament, US President Donald Trump thanked mediators from the Arab and Muslim world for helping to reach an agreement that brought about a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the hostages held by Hamas.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East. I want to express my gratitude to a man of exceptional courage and patriotism whose partnership did so much to make this momentous day possible. You know who I'm talking about. There's only one, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his address to the parliament, said that Israel achieved amazing victories over Hamas and the entire Iran axis.
Amazing victories over Hamas and the entire Iran terror axis. Sinwar, Dev, Khania, Nasrallah, Assad, they're all gone.
Netanyahu described US President as the greatest friend Israel ever had in the White House and announced that he had nominated Trump for Israel's highest civilian honor for his pivotal leadership in supporting Israel during the conflict.
This is only a partial list, but it's enough to affirm what I've said time and again. Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace. And together, Mr. President, we will achieve this peace.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also welcomed the release of all Israeli hostages by Hamas after more than 2 years in captivity. Prime Minister Modi wrote on social media platform X, and I quote him here, "We welcome the release of all hostages after over 2 years of captivity. Their freedom stands as a tribute to the courage of their families, the unwavering peace efforts of President Trump, and the strong resolve of Prime Minister Netanyahu. We support President Trump's sincere efforts to bring peace to the region." US President Donald Trump is now en route to the Egyptian town of Sharm el-Sheikh, where he is co-chairing a peace summit on Gaza. The Summit for Peace in Sharm el-Sheikh is being attended by leaders from around the world. Streets in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh, where Gaza ceasefire talks have been taking place, appeared calm on Friday, hours after Israel's government ratified a ceasefire with Hamas under US President Donald Trump's deal to end the war in Gaza. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz boarded a plane for Egypt on Monday morning, where he was to attend the summit in Sharm el-Sheikh to finalize an agreement aimed at ending the war in Gaza. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron was welcomed by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Monday upon arriving at Sharm el-Sheikh venue set to host the Gaza Peace Summit. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Egypt on Monday ahead of the summit aimed at building conditions for lasting peace in Gaza. So this will not be the first major international conference to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh, a town near the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula. In fact, the fishing village turned resort town has emerged in recent years as one of the region's most happening tourist destinations, with a thriving hospitality industry making it an ideal location for high-profile gatherings in the region. On to Europe now. Following the formation of Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's new government in France, French President Emmanuel Macron announced that he will remain in office on Monday. He emphasized that political forces have a responsibility to promote stability rather than gamble on it.
It is everyone's duty to work towards stability, not to gamble on instability. I am here in my role as guarantor of our institution, the role I exercised last week. Like all French people, I have seen many comments that have not been commensurated with the event, and I ask everyone to pull themselves together and work with rigor and respect.
Lecornu, who was reappointed Prime Minister last week, had pledged to deliver a cabinet of renewal and diversity, but stuck with his previous picks for most of the choice jobs. The most notable change to the ministerial picks was incoming Interior Minister Laurent Nunez, who replaces Bruno Retailleau, leader of the Conservative Republicans Party. The new government must submit a 2026 draft budget by Tuesday to allow the required 70-day parliamentary review. The hard left France said it will file a motion of no confidence on Monday, as did the far-right National Rally. Meanwhile, the socialists are keeping their options open. On to Africa now. In Madagascar, thousands of protesters gathered in Central Square in Antananarivo on Monday, chanting for President André Rajoelina to step down. The demonstration marks the most serious challenge to his leadership since his re-election in 2023. Protesters, many of them students, held banners referencing Gen Z as military vehicles moved slowly through the crowd. Some demonstrators hung off the sides of the vehicles, while soldiers remained visible but did not intervene. Madagascar's presidency said Rajoelina will address the nation later on Monday, after losing the support of a key army unit that joined the youth-led protests. Demonstrations began on September 25th over water and power shortages, but have since escalated into broader demands for the president's resignation, driven by the frustration over corruption, poverty, and lack of basic services. On to Ecuador now. Clashes intensified on Sunday in Quito as the country marked 21 days of a nationwide strike against President Daniel Noboa, coinciding with the day of resistance march. Tensions flared when protesters heading toward El Arbolito Park were met with tear gas, forcing them to reroute. The march, held by indigenous groups, commemorates the Day of Resistance, observed in place of the Day of the Race, and is officially recognized by the government as the Day of Interculturality and Plurinationality. Protests began in mid-September after Noboa removed diesel subsidies. Demonstrations have since grown, prompting a 60-day state of emergency in 10 of Ecuador's 24 provinces as of October the 5th. At least one person has died and several others have been injured during the unrest. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. A global report by 160 scientists warns that the world's tropical coral reefs have likely passed a point of no return due to the rising ocean temperatures. Over 80% of the reefs are suffering record bleaching as global warming hit 1.4 degrees Celsius. Scientists say most reefs would perish at warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, a threshold just years away. While glaciers in Greenland, the Alps and the Himalayas melting, some large Central Asian ice fields like the Pamir in eastern Tajikistan have remained stable or even grown. To investigate this surprising trend, scientists traveled to the region to drill deep ice cores. These ice cores hold vital clues about climate change and regional glacier dynamics. Over 10,000 migratory birds have arrived at the Nanji Wetland Reserve in Nanchang, Jiangxi, China, marking a seasonal peak along the East Asian Australasian flyway. Improved conditions after a 2020 fishing ban have attracted species like white-fronted geese and green-winged teals. And Hebei's Hengshui Lake in China reached a major milestone in its captive breeding and rewilding efforts for the endangered Bayer pochard, a rare species of diving duck. Researchers have successfully established the world's first stable, naturally breeding population of this duck for its conservation. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. American-Israeli Joel Mokyr, France's Philippe Aghion and Canada's Peter Howitt get the Economics Nobel for their work on technology's impact on sustained economic growth. And India sends sacred relics of Lord Buddha for exposition in Russia's Kalmykia Republic.
There's so many invaluable artifacts that the British have taken from our country. They robbed us of our self-respect. They robbed us of our honor. Loot was never innocent. It was painful.
The word loot, that was stolen from India too.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India Live. You are with me, Tanvi Taneja. Next news from The arrival of Mongolian President to India. Mongolian President Khurelsukh Ukna is in India for a 4-day state visit from today until October 16th at the invitation of President Draupadi Murmu. This marks his first visit to India as head of the state. He was warmly received at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport by Minister of State for Civil Aviation, Muralidhar Mohol, with a ceremonial welcome. The occasion featured vibrant cultural performances followed by a formal guard of honor in his recognition. During the visit, President Murmu will meet her Mongolian counterpart and host a banquet in his honor. President Khurelsukh Ukna will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and review the entire gamut of bilateral relations. Diplomatic relations between India and Mongolia were established in 1955. Over the past 7 decades, the two countries have developed a close and multifaceted partnership anchored in shared cultural and spiritual links and democratic values. This is President Ukna's first visit to India in his capacity as the head of state of Mongolia. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on the visiting Mongolian President Khurelsukh Ukna in New Delhi today. In a social media post, the External Affairs Minister said he appreciates his warm sentiments on advancing as spiritual neighbours and Global South members and mutual strategic partnership. The External Affairs Minister further said that he was confident that the visiting president's talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow will chart a forward-looking course for the next decade of friendship between the two countries. Canada's foreign minister is also in India. Visiting Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi on Monday. Prime Minister Modi welcomed Foreign Minister Anand and conveyed that her visit would contribute to the ongoing efforts to impart new momentum to India-Canada bilateral ties. Prime Minister Modi recalled his visit to Canada in June this year for the G7 summit, during which he held an extremely productive meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney. Prime Minister Modi noted the significance of enhanced cooperation between the two countries in trade, energy, technology, agriculture and people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Modi conveyed his warm wishes to Prime Minister Mark Carney and said that he looked forward to their upcoming engagements. Earlier, Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand met India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Both the leaders had constructive discussions to restore and reinvigorate the mechanisms necessary to advance India-Canada partnership. They also exchanged views on global developments and on shared challenges. The leaders also agreed on an ambitious cooperation roadmap and to shepherd the process of rebuilding cooperation between the two countries.
For our meeting today, have prepared an ambitious roadmap to advance our cooperation in various domains, including trade, investment, agriculture, science and technology, civil nuclear collaboration, AI, critical minerals, and energy. I'm glad that the two High Commissioners have assumed their responsibilities in our respective capitals and are part of today's meeting. Canada bilateral relations have been steadily progressing in the last few months. We are working to restore and reinvigorate the mechanisms necessary to advance our partnership. As Prime Minister Modi noted during his meeting with Prime Minister Carney in Kananaskis, India's approach is to move forward with a positive mindset. This morning, you have met the Prime Minister, you have heard from him personally about our vision of cooperation and how best to realize it.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Monday met Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand in New Delhi. The two leaders discussed cooperation in key sectors including energy, technology and food security. Minister Goyal also reiterated India's readiness to reinvigorate trade, investment and economic ties with Canada on the basis of mutual trust and respect. The Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for 2025 has been announced. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences declared the award on October 13th, marking the final prize of this year's Nobel season. Joël Moquer, Philippe Aghion and Peter Howitt have won the 2025 Nobel Economics Prize for having explained innovation-driven economic growth. The prestigious award, formerly known as the Serveges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences, in memory of Alfred Nobel, carries a prize of 11 million Swedish crowns for the winners. In its declaration, the prize-awarding body praised the laureates for underscoring that sustained economic growth is not guaranteed. Let's hear what the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences had to say.
The Academy of Sciences has today decided to award Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel for 2025 to Joël Moncur, Northwestern University, USA, Philippe Aghion, Collège de France, and INSEAD, France, and London School of Economics, UK, and Peter Howitt, Brown University, USA, for having explained innovation-driven economic growth.
Back to Asia. The Bangladesh government has designated a building within the Dhaka cantonment as a temporary jail, according to a Gazette notification issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs on Sunday. The decision follows the recent detention of 15 army officers by the Bangladesh Army after the International Crimes Tribunal issued arrest warrants against them for alleged crimes against humanity. Officials stated that the newly designated facility inside the cantonment will ensure the secure custody of the detained officers as legal proceedings continue under the ICT supervision. The 45th edition of GITEX Global, the world's largest technology and AI showcase, opened today at the Dubai World Trade Center and Dubai Harbour, featuring over 6,800 exhibitors and 2,000 startups from more than 180 countries. Running until October 17th, the 5-day event showcases breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology and sustainable tech. AI leads the agenda with exhibitions, workshops and keynotes on its transformative impact. India marks one of its largest participations yet, with 237 exhibitors highlighting its expanding tech ecosystem. ECS India heads the delegation with 100 companies, joined by 30 from Kerala IT parks, 76 independent firms, underscoring India's growing global footprint in AI, cloud and emerging technologies. The strong Indian presence highlights the country's growing tech ties with the UAE and its rising global influence. DD India spoke to Vikas Gupta, additional executive director of ECS India, who called GITEX a powerful showcase of India's innovation and global partnerships.
This is one of the largest participation in GITEX for the Indian companies. Under EST's umbrella, there are almost around 100 companies who are exhibiting in various domains like AI, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and many others. We are there in almost every hall. The India Pavilion is there, and a number of Indian MSME companies are showcasing their products and services in IT and various other domains.
India's External Affairs Ministry Secretary West, Ambassador C.B. George, led the Indian delegation at the senior officials meeting of the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Midterm Ministerial in Kampala, Uganda. The meeting was presided over by Uganda's Foreign Minister General Odongo JJ. Posting on microblogging site X, External Affairs Ministry reiterated its support to Uganda's leadership of the non-aligned movement. In an event of profound spiritual and cultural significance, the holy relics of Lord Buddha were formally enshrined in Kalmykia in Russia, marking the first ever exposition of these sacred artifacts in the Russian Republic. The day was graced with the opening of 3 unique exhibitions by Uttar Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya and Head of the Republic of Kalmykia in Elista, Batu Khasikov. The exposition symbolizes the deep-rooted spiritual connection between India and Russia. Head of the Republic of Kalmykia, along with his ministers, met the Indian delegation. In the meeting, both sides agreed to strengthen bilateral relations, people-to-people ties, and open new areas of cooperation. Keshav Prasad Maurya also visited the Buddhist park in Elista and assured the governor of Kalmykia that India will provide a Buddha statue and contribute providing its construction material. The initiative aims to promote deeper awareness of Indian culture among Russians. Later in the day, the Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh inspected the Kalmykia University Museum and praised the struggles undertaken in the journey of development by the people of Kalmykia. The university's director and the Minister of Culture of Kalmykia welcomed the Indian delegation.
यह म्यूजियम अत्यधिक महत्वपूर्ण है। इसमें इन्होंने जो संग्रह किया है उसकी जितनी प्रशंसा की जाए वो कम होगी। कई प्रकार के उतार चढ़ाव का सामना करने के बाद इस विश्वविद्यालय की उपलब्धि बहुत अलग प्रकार की रही है। आज यहाँ आने पे इस म्यूजियम को देखने के बाद ये ध्यान में आया कि कलमिकिया के लोग अपने इतिहास को लेकर के भी, अपने वर्तमान को लेकर के भी, अपने भविष्य को लेकर के भी बहुत जागरूक रहते हैं, बहुत सजग रहते हैं। इसके लिए इनको बधाई भी देता हूँ और ये म्यूजियम का जो आकार है और इसको विस्तार दिया जाए ऐसा इनको अपनी तरफ से सुझाव भी देता हूँ।
And finally, news from the world of cricket. India ended day 4 firmly on top of the Delhi test, needing just 58 more runs for victory to seal the series 2-0. Campbell and Hope's centuries kept West Indies fighting early on the day, but India's bowlers, led by Jadeja, Siraj and Bumrah, triggered a late collapse. Justin Greaves and Jayden Seale stitched a stubborn 79-run partnership in 22 overs for the 10th wicket, stretching the lead to 120 before Bumrah ended the innings at 390 runs. In pursuit of 121, Rahul and Sai Sudarshan steadied the chase after Jaiswal's early dismissal, leaving India poised for a comfortable day 5 finish. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.